Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org, for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Frank E. Schroeder. We'll be discussing his fantastic book, Galleon Moon, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. And I will say, Frank was brought to People of Distinction today by some of the best movers in the business. Parchment Global Publishing. If you have a book that you'd like moved, well, move it to Parchment. You can find them at parchmentglobalpublishing.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Frank here on the line with us, because his book we're going to be discussing, Galleon Moon. Listen, it's a poetry book, but I bet it's a poetry book unlike any you've ever read before. It's going to be an interactive poetry book in a sense, right? Where as you're going through, it's meant to really incorporate the reader in the journey. You're really going to be immersed in the poetry that Frank has put together on the page for us. You're going to be able to name the poems themselves. I mean, guys, listen, it is just an all-out fun journey for everyone involved. Listen, Frank is the expert on the matter. He's going to be able to articulate all the nuances in his book much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Let's bring him here on the line with us. Frank, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
All right. Well, Frank, listen, we're very much looking forward to this, okay? I'm not going to wait any longer. Let's jump right in. Before we get into the book itself, let's hold off slightly. Tell our listening audience a little bit more about you.
Well, I'm Frank Schroeder, and what I've done is created a poetry book where the title is not on the top. The title is actually hidden on the side of the poem. It's similar to seek and find. You have to find the title of the poem and then put it on the top. Or since the top of the poems is blank, you can put in what you think is a good title for the poem, which makes you the person who titles the poem. You are the titler here. And it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing about it is that when you go through the poem, everything in the book, in the title, everything in the poems are very, very relaxing. It's a good poem to read while you're sipping a cup of tea, drinking some hot chocolate, listen to some soothing music. It actually relaxes you. It lowers your blood pressure. It's just a wonderful book to read.
Fantastic. Frank, thank you so much for sharing. I love the fact that you created this almost immersive experience with your audience. Now, talk to us. Why was it important for you to do so? And really, where did that idea come from?
Well, the idea, what I saw is that there's puzzles called acrostic poems where you actually look on the side. It's similar to your seek and find. When you're looking at a seek and find puzzle, the poems in there, the words in there are diagonal, they're top and down, crossways, everything else. What you're doing in here, it's like a seek and find poem. You're actually finding the puzzles, finding the words, the titles that are actually read up and down from the top to the bottom. That's what they call an acrostic puzzle. They're very, very fun to do. And it takes a little brain power, but it's very, very easy to do once you do it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, who doesn't love puzzles, right? I mean, you got puzzles, which everybody loves, and then you got poems, and you really are bringing the two together. And I think that is such a creative aspect that you've been able to infuse within your writing, and lends a lot of credence to you as an author. So thank you so much for doing that.
And this is a type of puzzle that has never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you'll really, really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Listen, let's go on to the title, Galleon Moon. Talk to our listening audience. Why did you choose that particular title to be the representation for your book?
Well, it's like Galleon is actually a pirate ship when the pirates go out to get the treasures and everything, they find a moon. They find a boat to put it in. You're actually seeking treasures and bringing it back to the boat. You're like a 15th century explorer. You're exploring poems that have never been seen before. These are all gems. And it allows you to explore new lands, new poems, and in a sense claim them in your honor.
The cover of the book has a ship on there, right? So instantly you're taken on this journey right from the get-go.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Frank. Listen, my audience is going to get upset if I don't already hurry up and ask this next question. So let's take a quick pause. Let's separate a little bit. Frank, we'd love to hear one of your poems.
Well, one, huddling under a mess of clothes lies a package of sinew and bones, neatly stacked like a package, fresh in form. Often wonder who prepares it. Grave I'm informed, soon declares it. Utter folly to deny, resolute I must try to enjoy this package till I die. Now the first line is huddling is H, under A is U, mess of clothes is M, a package of sinew is A, neatly stacked like a package is N, freshly formed is F, often wonder is I, grave I'm informed is G, utter folly to deny is U, resolute I must try is R, enjoy the package until I die. The first letter of each sentence, of each line, spells out the title of the poem, HUMANFIGURE, human figure.
Listen, I absolutely love that, Frank. Listen, the poem itself was great and it's beautiful, but I love the fact that, again, you can kind of go through and find the title hidden within the poem. I think that's such a creative aspect. Now, you mentioned that some of the poem have the title hidden in. Other ones are nameless, correct?
Yes.
Now, the poems that you have that are hidden, that don't have names, you purposely did that, I'm assuming, of course. Is that also a way to kind of incorporate the reader in your novel, in your book, to actually have them have more ownership of it? Or what was the purpose behind that?
Yes, exactly. Now, there are other poems in there which are actually written like a story. It doesn't have stanzas or first, second, third, or fourth lines. It's actually written like a story. But the story is poetic, is a poem in form.
Mm-hmm.
And that I find kind of similar, kind of interesting too.
Absolutely.
That's what I call a poetic secret surprise tale, PSST.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually feel that, like when you're walking on the hill and walking with them, you actually feel like you're actually doing that. It brings you in to the story itself.
Absolutely. And that's what, listen, that's exactly what I was hinting towards when we started the interview in my intro. Listen, this is an immersive, poetic journey, which, I've never experienced before in my life. And I think that, again, that is such a creative and a very unique way to approach a poetry book.
Yes, and that type of poem has never been done before either.
Mm-hmm.
So you're actually reading something that's never been done before. You are actually being the explorer, so to speak.
Absolutely.
By reading it, it's your treasure.
There you go. Again, here on the line with Frank E. Schroeder. We're discussing his book, Galleon Moon, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million. Now, Frank, listen, we know about the book. We know about the title. We've heard one of your poems. The next question I'd love to ask is, obviously, this is a poetry book. How did you start writing poetry?
Well, it's like the acrostic puzzle. I like seeing something that when you start at the beginning and you go over to from left to right. Well, actually, what got me started is when I started reading poetry books, and reading titles, I started thinking, what if I could take that title, instead of having it on the top, have it sideways from top to bottom and making a poem out of that. So I went from there, and everything started coming together. Next thing you know, I'm writing a bunch of them. And then from there, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and put it into a book form. It's never been done before. Go ahead and do it.
Now, was poetry something that you always have had a particular interest in, or was this a newer development?
Well, it's kind of a new development. I've always had an interest in poems and reading. When I was younger, I would take an encyclopedia book and just read it from end to end. I was just engrossed in encyclopedias and reading. My parents have always told me, you got two choices. You can get a whipping, or you can read a book. Well, of course, I read the book.
Time to start reading, right? Time to start
reading.
It's a
lot easier. I'm not behind. So I just want to get a whipping, and then you read a book because you're behind the story. It doesn't help.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. That's one way to get a child to start learning.
Yes.
Frank,
Exactly.
Thank you so much, man. This has all been fantastic. Now, you do have another book that I want to briefly get into. So before we get there, as we close out this fantastic book, what would you say was a highlight for you in writing this book?
Well, the highlight was just getting people, to read it, getting people to see something that has never been done before, and seeing people smile. Seeing people smile is the highlight I've always wanted to get.
Absolutely.
And hopefully when this book gets out, I'll see a lot more smiles.
There's something so profound about sharing your artwork with the public, right? And really having them enjoy the journey that you're able to instill within them. And I think that is something that any artist, regardless of your particular art form, any artist can relate to. And I definitely can resonate with what you're saying there. That's fantastic. Listen, guys, as I stated, that's not all, okay? That was the main focus of today's interview. That's really where we wanted to put a lot of our attention. But Frank has put out a second book. It's called Magic Diamonds. Frank, talk to us about that other title, please.
Well, in origami, there is a fold called the Monkey Climbs a Mountain fold. And what you do is you fold it together, cut out the little window in there, rub the legs together back and forth, and the friction makes the character move across through the window or come up on the top. So it's actually like an action toy. Mm-hmm. So what I've done is taken a coloring book and into a square. What I've done is make a coloring book. It's actually a coloring book and an origami book, combine the two together. And that allows the character to actually move. You color the page, fold it up, and friction makes the character go together. And also you can actually color the page and do what they call the you blow it up. It's a water bomb fold is actually what they call it. When you blow it up, it turns three-dimensional. You get all these new ideas from it, and I think you'll really, really enjoy it. It's an origami coloring book.
I love the fact that you have this. I mean, you're definitely the first author that I've ever had on my show that has an origami book. Now, similar to poetry, I mean, was this also something that, you found yourself loving to do at an early age, or was this also a new development?
Well, I started doing this back in 2014. And that book is actually what you call, that paper fold is actually what you call the water bomb fold. People used to take it, blow it up, fill water in it, put water in it, and then throw them at people. It's like a paper water balloon, if you're familiar with those.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you were able to take, almost hobbies in a sense, things that you loved to do. And not only did you find a lot of pleasure in it, but you were then able to incorporate that into books and put it out for the mass public to be able to partake in and share in as well. And I think that is so beautiful and so profound in its own right. Guys, listen, what more can we say? You know what you got to do. You got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Books A Million and pick up your copies of Galleon Moon and also Magic Diamonds by Frank E. Schroeder. Now, Frank, as we're tying up this fantastic interview, I could think of no better way to put a cap on it and really put a button on this interview than you taking us out on another one of your poems.
There are moments in life when all you can feel is you miss someone you dream of so much that you could reach out and hold them for real. Some days I have those moments. Often I find tunneling through my memories, component like a mountain climb, or wanting to rest on a narrow ledge, notching and knuckling for a finger wedge. Sometimes I sit for a moment to ponder, clearing a while, all the pressure I'm under. I bask in the sunset of a beautiful show, escorting the orange ball beyond the plateau. Now I'm at peace, my blood pressure lower, calmness I seek as the orange ball glowers, ending my pangs like a soft, soothing salve. Serenity exists in the comfort I have.
What a fantastic way to end the interview. Such relatable content. Listen, we all have been there, right? Where we cycled through the Rolodex of our memories and, we take ourselves back to earlier times and happier times and different moments that way. So such profound, relatable content there that really will influence everybody involved. Frank, this has been such a pleasure, such a delight having you on our show today. Thank you once again for being a guest with us on People of Distinction.
And thank you very much, sir. I loved it.